Welcome to podcast number 56, entitled Purge the Poison. I have been on a big crusade of sorts lately to do this myself and to get others to do it as well. Purge the poison. You are not your past. It does not define you. Whether it was great or horrific, it doesn't do anything other than give you perspective as you look forward. Stop dragging that baggage around with you. Everyone has a version of their own reality, their past, and these things help shape how they see the future. Here is the problem with that. It is very limiting. You are not the same person you were 6 months ago, and you're definitely not the same person you were 6 years ago. So why are you allowing that age-old mindset and experience to define your future? That would be the equivalent of logging onto your computer 25 years ago and never changing over from your AOL browser and email. Time to evolve. I have been fortunate that I have accomplished some really cool things in my past, and I have a lot of stuff, and I have, let me try that again. I have been fortunate to have accomplished some really cool things in my past, and I have had my share of crappy stuff too. In some ways, neither has more value than the other. Both sides of that coin are valuable in terms of experience, and I do my best to take away the lessons that are offered in both. But neither dictates my future. Past successes are just that. They're in the past. And similarly, past failures and shortfalls are no more of a predictor either. The Patriots still have to go and play the regular season of every NFL year. They don't get to skip over to the playoffs just because they won the Super Bowl in the previous year. The NFL doesn't work that way, and neither does life. Yes, there are advantages to having a track record of success. I get that. But you still have to perform. If I make President's Club designation for my sales efforts this year, and next year I don't even make my quota, I'm going to need to update my resume. But there's a silver lining to this. Every day, every opportunity is a new chance to do it right, hit it big, make it better, or make your mark. Past failures do not seal your fate either. Allow me to make an official announcement that you need to hear. High school has ended. You are not the same neurotic nerd that you were back then. You're no longer the quarterback of the football team either. All those social anointments, good or bad, no longer apply. Stop letting the past dictate how you see yourself now. If looking back into your childhood, you may see some of the things that were still weighing on you heavily. I'm not an expert in this area, nor do I pretend that I or want to be. What I did with some of those things worked for me and what I had experienced. I don't want to be so pretentious as to prescribe you a solution, as everybody's story is different. But I do feel confident in telling you this. Take action and start solving the problems. Lots of people just live their lives like the past is the future, and that's it. Get professional help if you need to. Read, do research on your own, whatever, but find a starting point and get to work. Whatever you do, start soon, like right now. Purge the poison and start getting a new outlook on what lies ahead. Life is a mirror, and if you look for bad things, it's easy to find them. But just as easily, if you can start looking at things differently, you can find a lot of good and a lot of opportunity out there. I wish you luck with your endeavor. So, some additional thoughts on that. I'm a big advocate of learning from the good and the bad. I would think that I probably have learned a whole lot more from bad situations than I ever have from good situations. As a competitive racquetball player, the wins tended to get glossed over as, okay, that's what should have happened. But the losses were the things that I had to sit down and analyze and go, okay, what did I do wrong? Where did things break down? What do I need to work on? Wins tended not to elicit that kind of behavior. It took a while for me to understand that doing that kind of an autopsy, so to speak, of a win was necessary and beneficial, just like doing it for a loss could be. There may have been times where I did some things really well that I don't normally implement, or that I got lucky in a certain situation and I can't rely on that being there again when I need to call upon it. So learning from the wins and the losses was definitely something that I had to learn how to do. But neither one of those dictated the future. Just because I was the best tournament player in Arizona for a short period of time doesn't mean that I get to skip over all of the preliminary rounds and just wait for somebody to make it to the finals to play against me. That's not how that works. The same thing in life. I gave the example of making the President's Club in sales. If I fall short next year and don't hit my numbers, I may be looking for a new job. I went from top 5% producer to updating my resume because in 1 year's time, something changed drastically and I am not getting the same results that I had before. In most cases, just like in that example, life itself is merit-based. You eat what you kill, you earn what you get what you earn, and you constantly have to strive and work and refine and polish to get better at things and continue moving forward. You're always going to have failures, but past failures doesn't guarantee that you're going to have future failures. And past successes do not guarantee future successes. It doesn't work that way. It's part of the process, and all of it is valuable experience. The key takeaway from this, however, is that you can't let the bad things that have happened in the past poison your outlook on you or impact your self-confidence and self-esteem or make you hesitant to try something new in the future because of a bad experience in the past. That's the kind of poison that you have to get out of your system. Those kind of limiting thoughts and beliefs are really, really going to hold you back. Or if you have been somebody who's been so fortunate as to have had success over and over and never really experienced a failure or a crushing defeat, the first time it happens, or let me put it this way, the longer it takes for that first time to happen, the more devastating it's going to be. If you somehow have been, the standout high school quarterback and you went on to college and you, like Kyler Murray, who was the number one draft pick for the Arizona Cardinals, he was an amazing success story at Oklahoma, Heisman Trophy winner, and now he joins a team that has been mediocre in the past couple of years, really bad before that at times, and he is going to have to deal with that first year in a losing season for the first time ever. Imagine how hard that would be to be the number one pick out of college football and sign a big contract and be the marquee player and start your first year as the quarterback for the team and have a 6-9 season, I believe, is where the Cardinals ended up last year. That's got to be way harder for a guy like that than somebody who has had to struggle and fight and had those experiences in the past. At least by experiencing them previously, you have some idea of how to bounce back, realize that it's not the end of the world, those kind of things. So I'm sure as the coach for the Cardinals, he really has to focus on making sure that Kyler does not crumble under that pressure and the sudden lack of success that he's experiencing. He's playing the game at the very highest level in the NFL, but having so much previous success, I'm sure he thought that he would step in and make a big impact right away. And he has, but those results haven't always been in wins. So that's the type of thing that I'm talking about. The opportunity to have losses, to have bad experiences, to get kicked in the teeth or get knocked down once in a while and come back from that is so vital in your own growth and learning experiences. But you can't let that stuff be a limiting factor in how you move forward. I guarantee you as a racquetball player, as a competitive racquetball player, my whole career, not just as my pro career, I guarantee you I lost more matches than I ever won. I started at a higher level than I should have. I didn't play the right division. I moved up too fast when I did win. I started playing on the pro tour far before I was really ready to do so. I'm sure that my number of losses greatly outweighs my wins. Even towards the end of my career, when I became, when I became one of, if not the best player in Arizona, I had a 5-year period where I went 134 wins and, as best I can calculate, 9 losses. In that time frame, I would be willing to bet that I still had more losses overall than I did wins in that era. It's just how it is, right? That's in some ways it's a good thing because I was always playing better competition with the long goal in mind of getting to the top of the heap, and I was willing to take those lumps. But I also, in retrospect, would not let any of my students follow in my footsteps exactly because there was some downside to losing all the time. And especially when you're really outmatched and you're not even competitive in those matches, that really can take its toll on you. And I learned that stuff the hard way. So I had to purge a lot of that poison out myself. I had a weird dichotomy of a raging superiority complex about certain things and a pretty significant inferior complex about other things. I masked the inferiority stuff with my outgoing attitude and my superiority complex of being the best local player that there was and winning almost every tournament that I entered. But there was some real underlying problems going on there that I just hid underneath that facade. It took a while to step away from that stuff, do the digging, uncover that poison, and figure out how to get it out of the system. It's not an overnight process because it didn't get there overnight either. But it's been one of the most beneficial things I've ever done for myself by being willing to take a hard look in the mirror and really figure out what I'm thinking and what I'm saying to myself inside my head, and then find the origin of those things and erase that or reframe it in my mind so that I'm turning all of that into experience instead of wins and losses. That's probably the best way I can frame that, is I just look at everything that's happened to me, that I've been through, that I've accomplished, that I failed at, as the generic label of experience. Not good experience, not bad experience, just necessary experience. It's the reason I'm the person I am today and continue to hopefully grow and mature and have even more to offer as I get older. I didn't start public speaking when I was 25 because I didn't have a whole lot worthwhile to say. Now at 50, I finally do, because I have all of that experience, quote unquote, in the bank, and I can look back on that, the good and the bad, and share those moments with people and help them understand and grab a shovel and start doing their own digging to get to the root of some of those issues that may be holding them back today. So again, purge the poison. Figure out what it is that your brain is whispering into your ear or your thought process is based upon all the time. And if it needs change, start doing some changing to it right now. Little by little, if you make those changes, you will see the difference over a pretty short period of time, and the impact can be dramatic, believe me. As always, I wish you luck with your endeavors. I don't have all the answers, but you're welcome to the answers that I have. If you think I can be of help, reach out to me through my website at darrenchatter.com or any of my social media platforms, Twitter, Instagram, LinkedIn, at Darren Chatter. I'd love to hear from you, and as always, I wish you luck in your endeavors. Thank you for joining me on the Darren Chatter podcast. I'm going to be reading some of my blog posts that I have written so that you can consume this information in an audio format versus reading the blogs if this is more to your liking. I'm going to share with you stories from my past as an athlete, as a coach, as a salesperson, as a business professional, as a VP of sales, everything that I have learned and amassed along the way in my 50 years here on planet Earth, I'm going to hope to share with you in order to help you shorten your learning curve, understand maybe a little different way to look at things, and hopefully learn a few things along the way. So here was the podcast you tuned in for. I hope you enjoy it. Please reach out to me when you can and let me know your thoughts. Thank you. Some additional thoughts on Purge the Poison. I actually wrote 2 blogs back to back, and I thought I would add a couple of additional thoughts instead of reading the whole thing. But I did think some of these things were important, so I'm going to share that stuff too. Again, the thought process is stop being a victim of the past. Take a look at the indulgences that you have today. Are those things masking some deep-seated feelings? Do you drink more than you should? Maybe you should start asking your questions to find out why that is. Whether it's social discomfort, numbing the pain of a rough childhood, whatever your baggage is, you have to start dealing with it. Some people turn to food for comfort. For many, their few positive childhood memories are tied to celebrations or family dinners. Pulling pleasure from food by triggering these associated emotions are how many people end up obese, and that vicious cycle seemingly has no end in sight for some. For others, retail therapy is their coping mechanism of choice. Quote unquote, treating yourself to something seems innocent enough until you find yourself with a lot of credit card debt and a house that makes you look like you're a candidate for next season's show of hoarders. It may seem funny, but if you're trying to cover up deep-seated pain and suffering from the past with any of these Band-Aids, you are operating in victim mode. Trust me when I tell you, you need to let that shit go. Your life is in a constant state of flux. Nothing is permanent. Your current successes are not promised to you tomorrow, and your past is long gone. Use this to your advantage and start anew if needed. You could start a whole new life if necessary, instead of trying to repair the current situation that you're in. Pack up and leave it behind if that makes sense to do so. Yeah, it'll be scary, but don't let the familiarity of your misery get mistaken for comfortable. Let me repeat that, as I think that line has a fair amount of impact. Don't let the familiarity of your misery get mistaken for comfortable. In fact, it may be necessary for you to start with a clean slate instead of trying to outlive your previous reputation, convincing your friends that you're different now, etc., etc. Cut bait and start over. It's your life, and you are the captain of your ship, and you better start navigating it. No one is coming to rescue you, and no one else is going to solve the problems that are trapped in your head. Only you have the key to that dark closet locked away in the back of your mind. Put on your adult pants, grab a flashlight, get the key to that room, and start peeking into the dark once in a while. Facing your fears and your default settings is crucial to changing your life in the direction that you want it to go. Be brave. You can do it. Others, seemingly far less capable than you, have also done it before, which means you can too. I think I'll just leave it at that. I did think that those were some good additional points. Again, if I can be of assistance, you know where to find me. Thanks.